Prashant Paroda is now with us. He's Portfolio Manager, Emerging Markets at Allspring Global Investments. Prashant, good morning. Great to have you with us here. Thank you very much for joining us. That lack of trigger that we've been sort of referring to, could an India-US trade deal be that trigger? He's President Trump. Of course, I mean, you can always say that when all this started, he kept talking about India and the deal never came. But he's now once again saying that, well, maybe there are a few countries, India is very close.
Yes, I think we are getting very close, and he hinted to whether the deal would be similar to the Indonesia terms. So hopefully we can get across the line this time, and we can put this behind us from a clarity perspective, from a company's perspective. It makes sense to kind of move along now.
And will that spur markets, Prashant?
I think some of it depends on what the number actually comes out at, right? If it's closer to what the Indonesia terms are, I think that's pretty much priced in with some of the markets. Again, a lot has changed in Trump 1.0 versus Trump 2.0 right now, right? If you look back in Trump 1.0, there was a lot of transshipment that went along, and a lot of that has been curbed in this Trump 2.0 trade deals. So with regards to that, I think India is pretty positively placed, and companies need to understand that, transshipment is not your competitive edge. Your competitive edge is your unit cost, and it will all come down to that once this tariff picture gets out of the way.
Prashant, hi, morning. On the US and just the overall sentiment, the fact is that evidence on ground, whether it's corporate earnings, whether it's retail sales, even inflation for that matter, everything has been solid and in the market's favor, which explains what the market's been doing, right? Do you expect this to continue in the next few months and quarters as well?
So I think the CPI data just came out, right, for June, and there was an increase in the year-on-year CPI. So a lot of the tariffs are not really affecting price right now because a lot of companies had built 3 or 4 months of inventory. And I think as you go down third quarter and fourth quarter, it will become clearer, especially from a Fed's perspective, whether inflation is under check or rising a bit. But we do expect some of these price hikes to impact those CPI numbers over the next 3 to 4 months.
Hi, Prashant. Good morning. Good to see you. Last time we chatted, India and I think Korea were the two indices you liked from two markets you liked from the emerging market pack. Do you stick to that? And also within the Indian markets, what are you doing? What are the sectors, the themes that you still like out here?
Yeah, so I think with India, we have to be very selective. I mentioned the banks right now. Some banks are kind of reporting subdued numbers. Other banks might do a little bit better. So I think within banks, we have to be very selective with, which companies are actually continuing to grow market share and have provisions under check. Within cement, I like cement as well. I think the price war that was happening over the last, 18 months, it seems to have abated and there's more price discipline. So some of those sectors are doing well as well. And telecom, of course, it's a 2.5 player market. So within that, we think the larger players will continue to do well.
Financials, cement, and telecom.
Yes.
Okay, got that. And as you're getting money, you're allocating to these sectors more, or
yes,
that question?
Yes, selectively we are, and I think Prashant, I think it will also come down to we'll be closely watching the commentary that these companies give as well. I mean, you might have a bad quarter last quarter, but the commentary going forward will be very essential for us to make bets from a 12 to 18 month perspective.
Prashant, I don't know, since you like financials, do you like Axis Bank? If you can, and if you can't talk about an individual name, that in general, I mean, the market will deal with this debate today that they say it's extreme prudence, and now they're the most prudent bank on the street with this change in the way that they recognize bad loans. But it's led to a huge drop in asset quality. So just general thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the drop is probably a surprise for many people on the street. But I think longer term, if this is a one-off issue, I think, people will overlook it, besides maybe some negative sentiment going into this quarter. But I think the question is on a Q-on-Q basis going forward, if we see this as a one-off issue, then I think people will overlook it.
So in financials, I mean, I don't know. So do you own Axis Bank? What about other banks, mid-size? What do you
Yes,
like in financials?
we continue to have a position in large private sector banks, and I think they have, last few years they haven't, except barring a few, they haven't really worked as well. So, this is sort of some catch-up here for a lot of them, where consensus estimates are relatively benign, and we think they're going to meet or sort of beat those estimates. So we continue to rely large private sector banks in this space.
And the RBI is trying to rev up growth, Prashant. This is a question which is, of course, been playing out both in India and the US. In the US, of course, in a more prominent way, President Trump attacking renewables, right? There is, I think, some news report which suggests that they're considering some dumping, anti-dumping for specific countries, and we'll put that in context. But is that a space you like? I mean, there are a few listed options in India, or are valuations a problem? Is all this news flow also a headwind?
Well, renewables, I guess, to the extent you're catering to the Indian market, I think there's a strong demand for that. To the extent that you're exporting to the US markets, I think it will kind of depend on kind of policy constraints on the US side. So I think if your market is sort of export focused, you might face a little bit of headwinds from the US side.
Prashant, Vari and Premier is like an optionality. There's enough demand locally so far, but that perhaps is an opportunity in the future. Thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. And
Thank you.
We'll speak again. Thanks once again.